Hello, Society members and our viewers from around the world. My name is Charles Knippen, and I am the president of the National Society of Leadership and Success. I'm very happy to be hosting another Thought Leader Series interview today. And for many of our students across the country and around the world, the environment is at the forefront of their minds. And today I'm very happy to be sitting down with the head of sustainability for Jet Blue Airways, Sophia Mendelsohn. Sophia, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to your viewers.
Great. Well, let's jump right into it. We'd like to understand, what is your role here as the head of sustainability for Jet Blue Airways? What does that mean?
It means we're thinking long term. Yes, we have quarterly results. We have analysts looking at us week by week. As leadership, we want this company to stay around for hundreds, thousands of years. We want these jobs to keep happening. We want these flights to keep going. And that means thinking about what the business environment is going to be like in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And the farther out we look, the more environmental pressures we see constraining our business.
So what are some of those specific initiatives that you're working on when you're looking at 5, 10 years, or even right now? What are some of those initiatives that you're working on?
So they all fall into two buckets. The first bucket is what we put out, right? If we put out waste, right now it's cheap to get rid of. That cost is going to go up in the future. The second bucket is what we take in. Right now, oil is at an all-time low. We don't think it's going to stay there. Nobody does, right? And so as you watch the commodity prices climb and then fluctuate and climb, we want to make our business independent of those variables we can't control. So we're looking at how we can take the cost of fuel and even the making of fuel into our own hands.
Again, going back to some of those specific initiatives that you're working on, when you hear that word sustainability, what does that mean for a company like JetBlue when you're thinking beyond just fossil fuel, fuel costs, things like that?
It means research and development, it means innovation, it means new thinking, it means going beyond quarterly results, and it also means taking into account how your customers feel about you, how your employees feel about you. We call them crew members because the idea is we really are a team. It means taking into account what's going to be said about you on social media, your reputation, just kind of like the way we all think about our reputations individually. I'm thinking about JetBlue's reputation as a person, like in JetBlue's college, in JetBlue's social media life, and making sure folks know that the leadership that runs this organization are good people that are not just chasing the cheapest dollar.
That's where I'd like to take the next question is because as a publicly traded company, a lot of focus is put on that bottom line. So what is the business case for sustainability?
The business case is one, customers like it. It increases customer loyalty and it grows your customer base. So you see top line revenue come in. 2, it saves money, right? Because all natural resources are another thing we have to pay for. All waste is another thing we have to pay for. The less energy we're using, the less fuel, the less water, which is, talk about prices that can go up, the cheaper the bills are. And 3, it helps future-proof our business. Because if there is any industry that should understand that things change, it's aviation. 100 years ago, we could get one person up in a plane made of wood and paper. Now we're worried about how fast the internet it is and how many different types of soda we can get on a 30-minute flight.
And so when you think about sustainability, and for our students who are watching this and going, well, what does that mean on a day in, day out basis? What does your day in, day out look like as the person who's championing sustainability and thinking about, being 5 years ahead and thinking about how do we think about our resource allocation and thinking about, the service experience? What does your day in, day out look like?
So I come into work and I feel a lot like I did when I was in college or in grad school doing a group project. And you sit down and you're excited to get going on, start something new, create something, and you have all these people you're going to be working with in this kind of ecosystem. And as the dynamics develop, you're like, that's really inefficient. This system, or in the analogy for a college project, that person's really inefficient. I'm going to make it my responsibility to take these people in these projects who I think are doing work efficiently closer to me and kind of push the inefficiencies out until all that's left of the group project is the good stuff.
And so how does that get funneled up to the top? When you think about sustainability, in the past, maybe those initiatives have kind of been looked at as the nice to haves, the things we'll get around to. But how do you here at JetBlue get that funneled up to the top and really make it, again, that business case, but also get it heard?
So it's a 3-step process. to make sure that no one ever says to me like, oh, that's so cute, but we really don't have time for that, right? My job is to make sure that everything I'm doing works with the numbers so it's taken seriously. If you want to do soft and fuzzy stuff, there's a place for that, but that's not where the jobs are, that's not where the growth is, and that's not where my heart is. So the first thing is I listen to what our leadership is saying. Our CEOs, all CEOs, put out communications. That's what their people do for them, right? All leadership does that. I actually read those emails. I actually watch their CNBC interviews. I read their Wall Street Journal pieces. And in those are the clues for where they want the business to go. And I take those words and I kind of stash them. And then I go all the way to the other side, to the folks who are dealing directly with the customers, the equivalent of the front line. And I listen to the problems they're talking about, and I stash those words. And then I match them up. So this CEO is saying he wants to get technology and innovation to customers. And this crew member is saying that they're frustrated by the fact that a customer can't use technology to check in by themselves or check a bag by themselves. And then you put those two things together and you're like, what we should do is go paperless. We should move towards iPads or tablets, apps, and you pitch it to the CEO in the language he or she used and get the top line buy-in. You pitch it to the front line in the customer language that they use. And in between is me just putting out the numbers. Here's the savings on printing, on ink, on paper. Here's the investment we're going to have to make. Here are the number of minutes you as a customer are going to save. Here are the number of minutes you as a crew member are going to save. And minutes are just another way to save money, right? And then you get the business case together for it. You put together the numbers, and it doesn't matter if I say, okay, we're going to save X number of dollars or we're going to save X number of trees. Pick your flavor, it doesn't matter, it's the same project.
And I think that goes way beyond just sustainability. That's for anyone thinking in any kind of leadership role or working with any organization. Looking at the top and saying, what's the priority? What's important to them? And trying to find how your initiative really matches up into that.
I couldn't have said it better myself, and I would just add on, if I was going into a career now, I wouldn't just think of it as a sustainability career. I would think of, if I like creating new things, shaking stuff up, forcing change, if you hate stagnation, then you can find all those inefficiencies and you automatically get to satisfy your environmental passion through that.
That's fantastic, especially for our students who are so concerned about the environment. But I want to dive back into your background a little bit because that passion is coming through. But I want them to hear the story. So take us back to before you were at JetBlue. You have a fascinating background. Tell us how you got to where you are today and some of the experiences that shaped you along the way.
Sure. So when I was 18, I went to college just around 9/11, and it was just around this sense that there was growth abroad and things were happening abroad. And reading all the papers, the Wall Street Journal, the Times, I got this feeling like, wow, if I want a job, I got to go abroad. So I piled up my babysitting money and got on an airplane to China. I didn't speak a word of Chinese. I landed, and it was a rough run, landing, with not a lot of cash and no language skills. But if you go to where the opportunities are, in this case, me going to China, the jobs are there, the opportunities are there. I networked with other Americans, other Australians, other British there, began to learn Chinese, began, networking with people who are establishing businesses in China, and then got my first job.
So there's a couple of things I got that were in there, courage being one of them. But, again, for our students, what were the things that you said would set you apart, but that you would recommend to students that, in taking that step that really helped you?
Yeah, so I'd say three things. The first thing is passion. If you care about it, you will do your best work there. Do not take accounting because you think you should. Do not major in finance because your dad told you to. The most successful people I see in the business world, especially in their second, third jobs, it doesn't matter what degree they got. They got the skills by studying poetry, so they got a major in English. It doesn't matter. But when they got to the interview, they were like turned on, and they're like the lights in their eyes were on. They were awake, and no one looked down at their resume and was like, "Oh, well, I'm judging you by your major." We hire here at JetBlue the same way, looking for that passion, assessing personality. And the second is to try as many things as possible, because 90% of them are going to fail, right? So try 9 different internships, try 9 different startups, because you need to do at least 10 to get the profitability that you'll like one job, you'll like one internship, one of your projects or startups will go well. And third, I would say put yourself in the right place in the right time, rather than wait and try it for luck. So I put myself in China because I could see that their economy was growing and ours was shrinking. Now I would put myself again in sustainability and technology space because that's where it's growing.
So you finished college, and we had just gotten to that point of your story. Tell us about your journey after that.
Yeah, sure. So I got a kind of what you could call a traditional job, 9 to 6, desk, office, nice clothes, and I just felt like it wasn't for me. We just immediately knew that client work is great and learning those former skills are great, but it wasn't the right time for me. So I quit and took a job working in factories because I wanted to be in the front line. And I never regret that decision because it pays off dividends later. So 10 years after your first job, when people are like, why should I trust you? Why should I take you seriously? Why should I believe that you know how to make sustainability about efficiency? You go back to your first job after college and you're like, well, I worked in the factories. I did it with my own hands. And you hear these stories. McDonald's, they want their people serving fries before their leadership. Ford, they want you, making an engine before you can come in. Jet Blue, you're supposed to be out in the airport helping customers before you think you can, crawl your way up.
And so you are across the world, and all of a sudden you're coming back to the United States. What was it about JetBlue? And what was it about this role? And tell us about, was it a new role? And what was the investment from the organization? And what was your vision?
So I found the job I'm in now as head of sustainability at JetBlue on LinkedIn. I had just moved back from China. I knew I would have to find a new job, and I was on the job market like everyone else. Trolling the internet like everybody else. And I saw it and I was like, I have no experience in aviation. Gee, I probably shouldn't apply. Look, it's free to apply to jobs, right? So you apply, and I tried to draw out all those experiences. Oh, China is just like aviation. Here's an analogy. And got the interview and quickly realized that they wanted me to start up the department, which I had done previously for another company in China to start up a sustainability department. And these are great opportunities. And who knows, what the next bunch of things that will be starting up in companies, the next bunch of departments, whether it's going to be a twist on an environment, some type of technology we haven't even thought of yet. But any job opportunity around starting a department at a large company is a great one.
Absolutely.
So I came in, like I said before, I listened to what leadership said. Why did the CEO put aside budget to create this? Clearly he thinks there's an opportunity we're missing or a risk we're not addressing. So I listened to those guys, listened to what they wanted, and then combined it with what the front line was saying. Oh gosh, we're so wasteful of this. We leave the lights on 24/7, we throw all this stuff out, we do this process 3 different, how can we make these more efficient things? And at the same time, our CEO was saying, I keep hearing that customers want us to be green. They want us to be green, make us green. Like, okay, well, we can address both of these issues at the same time.
And so now that you've had the perspective, you come here and you've been in your role for how long here at JetBlue?
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. And so tack that on to the 10 years that you had internationally. How do the countries compare? How not only just what you see in China, but around the world? Where does the United States stack up in your of what you've seen in terms of sustainability initiatives?
So a couple years ago, I would have said behind the EU, behind China, behind Australia, behind India. But now I feel that innovation coming back to the States. You see the U.S. wanting to create our own energy, that's a great sector. Those are great jobs. Whether it's wind, solar, natural gas, you see kind of innovation in the auto and transportation industry coming back, which is so refreshing. I mean, Uber and Lyft's giving everyone a run for their money. So good. So then you hear Ford talking about services. You see people taking electric cars seriously. So now I think the U.S. is the place to be for kind of corporate sustainability jobs.
So for those students who are sitting there going, I'm passionate about the environment, you've given a couple of little tidbits about being courageous, putting yourself out there, putting your best foot forward as far as really listening to that CEO. What other suggestions do you have for a student who's sitting there going, I'm passionate about the environment and I want to do something positive with my career? Where does that intersection happen and how do they make the most out of that?
So the 3 things I would recommend are, 1, trolling LinkedIn for words like sustainability, corporate responsibility, corporate citizenship, corporate social responsibility, because those jobs are out there and the posts go up and they come down quick.
Excellent.
Following people on Twitter, because that's really become the professional communication, say, versus Facebook or Instagram. And everyone with a job like myself at all different levels, from analyst to chief sustainability officer, are out there not just sharing their corporate news, but also sharing what they're learning at conferences. You can see who they're connecting and networking with, and those are the hiring managers. And then third is going to these sustainability conferences. And if you volunteer, if you contact the organization and say, I want to check people in, I want to help prep the speakers for their panels, then you can go for free. And you get to interact with all those people there. You get your business card out, tell them what school you're going to, your business card can say your school, and all of a sudden kind of you're in the networking crowd.
One of the things that has happened a lot in the news lately is a focus on the environment. And most recently being at the Oscars, where you had Leonardo DiCaprio all of a sudden win an Oscar, make his entire speech about protecting the environment. What's the impact on things like your initiatives and sustainability? How do you see that making an impact, or what kind of impact does that make?
It makes a huge impact, it makes a good impact, and it's only going to make more of an impact. And this is a growth industry, and you can see the media becoming more interested in it, you can see business leadership becoming more interested in it, and you can watch where the billionaires are putting their money. And you see Zuckerberg and Bill Gates getting together and pooling their money towards sustainable technology. That means that there's going to be new technology startups working on environmental issues, and they're going to be hiring.
Absolutely.
So every time a figure like that speaks up, you feel the ripples through the business world.
And one of the things that we saw in the news media about your initiatives happens to be about a potato farm out at JFK. I'd love for you to share that story with our members and a little bit about where it came from and why.
Sure. So this is something I think the viewers who are really passionate and interested in marketing and branding will react to, which is like the idea was to create shock, like do something really unusual. If you put a farm in the countryside, that's really boring. If you put a parking lot at an airport, that's really boring. And here we had the equivalent of this empty parking lot that wasn't serving anyone. So going back to the question that I think students and viewers in business school and taking business focused classes will learn, which is how are you serving your customer? What have you done for your customer lately? Well, this parking lot is doing nothing for them. So what can we put there, and what can we do that's cheap and easy? And it doesn't get cheaper than milk crates and dirt. But wow, the PR payback, the media attention, the dollars in earned media eclipsed my small investment in that by 100-fold. And it becomes this case study within JetBlue. Don't be afraid to propose the crazy idea, because if you propose 10 of them, 9 will get rejected and 1 will work.
The last question I want to ask is that, you work on big initiatives. You're working, how can we solve this problem globally? Right. A lot of our students are sitting there kind of going, what can I do locally? And so, I'd love for you to just give a few suggestions for students who are thinking environmentally every day. What can they be doing?
Well, the first thing is all colleges have kind of green groups or Greener University, Green Initiative. Join them. And when you join them, kind of look for the types of ideas, because there are old style ideas like recycling and changing LED light bulbs. Make sure your school is doing that. Those have good payback, but chances are the folks watching us today, their school's already doing that. So it's kind of like what new idea can you bring? And one I would definitely say relevant to all universities is composting, because you're going to drive down your school's waste bills. In some cases you can put on-site, energy generation, and you can turn the lights on with the food waste from your cafeteria, which is really cool. There's a business case for that. The technology exists. There are other universities that have also done it already. So you can kind of show your dean, you can point to that and make this is a financial win, it's an environmental win, and you don't have to be scared. We're not even the first to do it. So that's definitely one I would look at. And then the second is on-site solar panels. They're cost is going down, their energy efficiency is going up, and they're cool. You know, there's something visual that students can see around the campus and that will inspire other people, and it's a really good tangible product that a group of students can price out, propose, take to the university, and see executed in a couple years.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for making the issue of sustainability both globally and locally for our members today. I think that's fantastic. And one of the things that we as an organization, as a society, are really focused on building leaders who make a better world. And I think in this case, I want to say who build a more sustainable world. So one of the things that we want to present you with is a society state of mind here, right here in New York City. And so we just want to provide you and say thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
So for our society members watching, again, we want to encourage you, be a leader who makes a better and sustainable world. And good luck on your path to your success.